Greetings, welcome to EHS induction program. So let me walk you through the contents, right? We'll talk about the EHS policy, then where we have the various, the manufacturing locations, the historical trend, what is risk control framework, and the behavior safety commitment, casting the right shadow, our strategic plan, the safety plan for us to this year and beyond, then the governance mechanism and the safety pyramid balance scorecard. These are the various topics that we'll be covering today. If there are any questions or clarifications, you can reach out to me any point of time. So this is a policy that has been framed for our company. This has been signed by our managing director, and this has been adopted by all our factories, right? All the 9 factories have adopted this policy. What this policy exactly means? This policy gives commitment to the employees, right, as to how we ensure safety and health and environmental activities in the organization. How do we, nurture the safety culture within the organization? How do we promote it? And how do we ensure conservation of the resources, and how do we prevent pollution in our operations that we do? How are we efficient in terms of recycling, reusing, reducing and adding value? And we also promote dialogue with internal and external stakeholders about safety, health and environment performances. This is the management commitment that has been formulated and endorsed by the chief or the number 1 person in the organization. And how we are going to achieve that, right? EID Parry has benchmarked his safety, health and environment performance indicators across all the manufacturing organizations, right? We also benchmark ourselves with companies like Nestle, GSK, HUL and other organizations. And we compare and contrast the different behaviors that is being adopted at the various organizations and how it leads us to the zero harm culture. And we continuously enable and encourage employees' involvement by increasing the awareness of people, by continually improving on the capability sessions and the various initiatives that we do from time to time. So this policy is a meaning that I could explain by and large of what we have in the safety policy. Moving to the next slide, these are the various locations that we have, right? We have 7 manufacturing sites, based out at Nelikuppam, Pugalur, Shivaganga, and 3 manufacturing units at Karnataka, Haliyal, Bagalkot, Ramdurg, and a sugar manufacturing unit at Sankili. We also have a nutraceutical site at Unayur near Pudukkottai, and we have a sugar refinery unit at Kakinada. We call it as Parry Sugar Refinery. So we are all positioned in South India, right? And so this is, this gives a historical trend of, how many injuries happens and how injuries are being monitored. See, we have started tracking the data from April 2021 till March 2023. You can see that the graph fluctuates, right? And the TRFR is, it is a kind of, I used to always say that it's a magic number because it's an outcome indicator, right? You really don't have control on what happens in a factory, particularly on the injuries and ill health at workplace. So it's a kind of a graphical trend, right? It is like a sinusoidal curve, which means the graph is live graph. The only thing is we should see that the graph always oscillates within the control limits. So what we have taken as a target is, right, we looked at the baseline. The initial baseline was somewhere around 0.97 or so, and we have set up a target of around 0.7, and we try to push it down below 0.1, which is the international benchmark, right? What does 0.1 denote? It is about number of reportable accidents into 200,000 by the man hours worked. So it's a international indices, right? We compare ourselves with the international organization, so we follow the OSHA recordability rate. So and we keep monitoring it. So though we are having it till March, we have an updated graph, and that will keep continuing, right? And how do we ensure that we are in control, for which we have a risk control framework. The circle which you see here, it has the 7 different elements. Any business activity that we do, we need to have a risk assessment done for it, and there should be proper control which should be documented. That's why we say written standards and controls are needed. Then whatever we have made as a written standards and control, we ensure that people are trained on it, and we also ensure that the communication reaches out to all levels. Communication doesn't mean just a verbal communication. Communication means, be it in the form of signages, be it in the form of permit to work systems, trainings, coaching, tiered accountability meetings, so on and so forth. We also have a management monitoring wherein, on a daily basis, shift basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, there is a mechanism to monitor safety performance. See, as and when we monitor the safety performance, if for example in a shift, if there is a gap in a machine guard, so we look at why there is a gap and we respond to the problem. So we also find out, the reason why the guard was missing, and then we fix it. Similarly, when there is an incident like a first aid or a reportable incident or a notable incident, we respond to the problem by doing a detailed investigation and putting corrective and preventive measures. Then when we find out there are certain key issues, and that too due to repetitive issues, we also have to enforce disciplinary action on people and systems, right? So there is a consequent management policy which is in place, which we apply very rationally, right? There is always a logic, and in line with our core values, we apply those disciplinary principles. So this is our framework, right? This framework can be applied to any function. Suppose if I am in safety, so if I take fire as my activity, I look at the entire circle: risk assessment, written standards and control, training, communication, management monitoring, responding to problem, discipline and enforcement. If I am a quality guy in the center, I look at risks from a quality perspective, right? I look at what are all the risks in the laboratory, and what are all the personal safety risks that I might encounter while handling a chemical or a glass utensils or an oven or a hot plate, so on and so forth. If I position myself as a production manager or a production department personnel or a production officer or a shift officer, that is my business activity. I apply the same framework: risk assessment, written standards and control, training, communication, management monitoring, responding to problem, discipline and enforcement. If I am a maintenance person, that is my business activity. If I am a sales person, still the same circle applies. Why I am trying to repeat all the functions here is, right, every function has safety part of it into it. There is an inherent risk that will be there in each and every activity. Even as we walk, there will be a risk associated with it. When we climb the steps, there will be a risk associated with it. So how do we assess the risk, and how do we ensure those controls, and how do we manage it so that we ensure a zero harm culture is what this control framework depicts. And we do an independent business monitoring by having corporate audits and corporate inspections and so on. We have an independent assurance done by external agencies like TUV or DNV or so on and so forth. And all these things are governed by the enterprise oversight, the EAD PARI values. All our 9 units are certified for ISO 45001, and we have a framework in place and use. And moving to the next one, though we have a broad framework, right, we need to ensure that our systems maturity part, we need to constantly review where we are on the cultural journey, for which we have a framework for that. So, you can see the 5 levels, right? Level 1 is a negative culture, and level 5 is an excellent culture. So these are something which we have put together by, working with various organizations and understanding the principles behind how a world-class culture remains. So a level 1 culture means it's a negative culture. We start responding and reacting only when something goes wrong. That's a negative culture. Level 2 is more directive, right? Somebody says, so I do. The regulators are coming, factory inspector is going to come and, put some enforcement on us, so we will do. That's more directive culture. Engaging is more the next level, I would say. We do because our customer wants it, or some suppliers want it. So for that reason, we do the engaging culture. But and then the next level is embedded culture, wherein we take safety as an integral part of everything that we do. Excellence is always about sustaining that and never dropping the ball. And you can see the different explanations that has been given on each of those ladder steps, right? You can see that level 1 means managers are not invisible on EHS. When we say EHS, it means safety. right? Environment, health and safety, or health, safety, environment, or safety, health and environment, or safety, all means the same. So in that case, it's a negative culture is where we always look at production as an important thing. We disregard rules. We always look at things to happen by luck, and we as at EAD Parry, we always want safety as a choice. Then level 2 is a directive culture, wherein the managers set standards, supervisors monitor compliance and focus on following the rules. Level 3 culture, it talks about managers actively encourage, right? It's not that somebody is wanting somebody to be told to them. Supervisors involve the team, everyone gets involved. Whether it's a risk assessment or a training or an investigation or trying to put some new ideas, do a new modification to an equipment, everything is done by participation and consultation. So that's an engaging culture. Embedded culture is much more, right? It's from each and everything that we do, right? Even a smallest one will be considered with utmost precaution. EHS improvement becomes an integral part of everyday business, right? The decisions we take to buy a chemical or an equipment or a process, or to design an equipment, design a process, a modification done to the process, everything is just looked into detail, everything is looked into what are the kinds of risks that might come into it, and then we put some adequate controls and see to it that there is a flawless execution, right? Even it also covers a project as well, and there is zero non-compliance to anything that we do. And excellence is all about, right, whatever we are done in the embedded thing, as we consistently demonstrate without any deviation for a longer duration of time, then we can say that we are EHS excellence, we have achieved it. So this is a culture ladder, and to kind of much more to strengthen it, right, we also have a BBS program in place. So this program has been supported by the top management, and this also has been endorsed by our managing director. So it talks about, right, we at EAD Parry, though we have ISO 45001 systems, we have behavior based programs and other things, but we have to do more of it, right, because the EHS culture in the external world is completely different from what we do inside the boundary of the factory. So that need to be strengthened. So for the workforce, our contractors, right, we have a set of behaviors, right, and those behavior standards are continuously reinforced. We'll see what those standards are in the next slide. So these are the set of standards where we have everyone behavior standard, then supervisory behavior standard, then we have manager behavior standard, right? If you take everyone behavior, it includes the supervisors, managers, workmen, contract workmen, everybody into it. Everyone behavior means what? Right, follow rules, right, speak up, be mindful, get involved. What it means by follow rules, see, for example, if there is a truck driver who is going to come inside the factory premises, he need to ensure that he has a valid driving license, right, and he doesn't carry any flammable material, right, he is not drunk, he follows the speed limit within the factory premises, which is less than 15 kilometers per hour. See, this is what is meant by follow rules for a driver. What it means by follow rules for an operator who operates a distillery or a sugar plant processes or a cogen plant, there is an SOP that has been laid out. Whatever parameters that have been stated to be followed need to be complied with. That is what is meant by follow rules for those operators. And what it means by follow rules by the supervisor, whatever has been stated in the SOP or whatever has been stated in the system has to be demonstrated, and they should ensure that the operators are following it. There are no systems that are bypassed, no machines are operated without guard. Speak up if there is an issue that happens in the system, right? The supervisor or operator or a contract worker, right from any level, people need to speak up and express the discomfort so that it can be resolved. Be mindful, right? When you come inside the factory premises, we have to be mindful in whatever we do. Whatever decision we make, it has an impact on someone else, either on the product or people or on the processes, and then get involved. See, nothing happens without a teamwork, right? So it's always important that whether it is safety, quality or production, being involved is the most important thing. So these standards are further elaborated with more detailed explanations that will be covered in your BBS training module, that will be having it separately. Then comes to the supervisor standards. What is the role of a supervisor? He ensures compliance, right? When we talk about compliance towards whatever has been laid within the department, within the section. And he encourages a team and sees to that the team is completely in sync with the expectations. And he promotes the risk awareness and involves the team on every improvement and everything that we do in the shifts or in the daily basis. And then comes the manager standard. What does a manager behavior standard talks about? Managers are expected to set high standards. They need to communicate openly, confront the risk, proactively involved. So what is confronting risk? If there is a risk, we cannot say that no, it's okay, we'll adjust and do. We'll see to it that the risk is mitigated and then we make people to work on it. So then what is proactively involved? We don't allow something to break down and then go and repair it. We see to it that even at the very early stage, we find the issues. If there is a vibration, how do we fix the vibration? If there is a rattling noise, how do we fix the rattling noise? Those are the things which helps things to be improved proactively. So these standards are laid out very well, and we have very detailed training program towards BBS, which we'll cover as once this session is over, we'll cover it in a very detailed manner. And what this behavior talks so overall is, it's not enough for an organization to have good systems. We may have ISO 45001, ISO 14001, 9001, Born Sucro, many systems. But the performance is actually determined by how we live out of the system. We can say that you should go less than 15 kilometers per hour. Are we really following it? We can say that we should use safety belt while working at height, but are we really following it? These are something which we need to live and act out of the systems. And it's us as people who turns systems and procedures into reality. And we don't exclude our contractors also into it. So each and every person who is involved in the system, is bound to follow the behavior aspects. And then we also have a broader safety plan, right? The safety plan there are 4 pillars, which is the infrastructure pillar, system pillar, culture and capability pillar, and process pillar. So the whole company operates on the infrastructure, right? When we talk about infrastructure, we talk about the various hardware aspects of it, which is there in each of the factory and offices. And we look at the gravity aspects, right? Something should not fall from the top. That's what is a gravity hazard. People should not fall from some platforms or from high elevated places. That's a fall hazard thing. So transportation safety, we look at the fire safety, right? That is, we have flammable materials which can be coal or the bagasse or the fuels that we handle, and we have various materials. So what we look at is, we look at each and every part of it, and see that the controls are adequate. So we have a detailed program for each and every area, everything that we talk about here, whether it's a gravity hazard, fall hazard, transport hazard, or fire hazard, metal handling hazard, machinery hazards, electrical safety hazards. Then the next step is about going to project safety and process safety. As a company is growing, there will be new projects coming in. And when new project comes in, we need to look at what are the additional risks that comes into the system. How do we strengthen the controls? The existing controls need to be further strengthened. So that's why it's very important to have a good project safety practices. Then we also look at the process safety aspects, because see, when we talk about process, the process need to be controlled, right? There are certain upper specification limits, lower specification limits in process safety. And it's not about the operating parameters, it's beyond that. So those are the things which are covered under process safety. There are 14 guiding elements which we are rolling out in all of our factories. And then we have learning zone with audio, video, visuals, right? In all of the factories, we have a behavior tunnel which has a screen, a television and an audio and some display boards, and we keep changing the themes. So that is a touch point for those who come inside the factory premises to know what are the inherent things that they are supposed to know as they come inside the EID Parry premises. So this is what is covered in the infrastructure pillar. We have adequate budget factored for this aspect of it. Then the system bucket. We already have all the 9 factories certified on ISO 45001. We ensure that it is sustained by having cross-site audits, internal audits, and so on and so forth. Similarly, we have environment framework self-assessment. From the environment standpoint, when we talk about people safety, we also have to look at the environmental safety aspects, right? We look at the water, wastewater, then solid waste, air emissions, and energy conservation. All those things are covered in the environment framework self-assessment. And then when it comes to health management system, we look at the employee health, right? Contractors health. There are certain areas where, when people are working over there, they need to be ensured that they are periodically examined for the fitness levels. So we look at all those aspects under the health management system. We have a dedicated 24/7 occupational health center with the doctor and paramedical staffs. So they are continuously being trained and coached, and we have trained first aiders. All those aspects are covered under the health management system. Then moving on to the culture and capability bucket. This is an area where to build culture and capability, I earlier explained about the level 1 to level 5, the various steps from a negative culture to the excellence. So the same thing, how we do it is by having corporate audit and governance. We do behavior based safety programs continuously. Last year we did behavior safety cycle 1. This year we are doing second cycle of training, and next year it will be cycle 3, cycle 4 and cycle 5 and so on. It's a continuous process. And we also conduct safety leadership program to corporate leaders and site leadership, so that the new leaders who come into the system are aligned and they are in tandem with the other leaders who are in the system. Then the fourth pillar and the critical pillar is the process pillar. What is process and governance, right? We ensure that any change that we do is governed by management of change process, and for that there is a governance mechanism. The governance is done by a digital platform. We have Benchmark Digital, which tracks each and every aspect of it. We have 5 modules which has been put into this. One is, you have the concern reporting system. With a QR code, you can just scan and you can put whatever concerns you find. It can be a slippery floor, it can be a defective ladder, defective tools, anything you can put into it, and it will go to the concerned person and he will be able to resolve that issue. And that's what is covered under the concern reporting system. We have action tracking system to track various actions that comes out of inspections and audits. We also have a monthly inspection scheduled, and those checklists triggered to the respective departments. So that covers under the inspection tool. And then we have safety observation system, right, and all those and then incident management systems as well. So all these 5 modules helps in terms of strengthening the whole program and governance. And then we have ESG, the environment, social and governance, and the environmental data validation is being done by the environmental function. We really look into how the treatment happens, how the wastes are being managed, how the wastes are being treated, how it is being disposed, whether we can recycle it or reuse it. All those things are really looked into the environmental data validation component of it. And then the contractor safety session for supervisors and workers. We have a very structured module for contractors, where any new contractor coming into the system are trained, and then they are made to work in our factory premises. And then we also have a monthly contractor safety council, and we do have a committee to review their performances on a monthly basis. And the management of change and mechanical integrity program are part of the process safety elements. But why we have called it out is these are 2 things which are very essential, because management of change is about people change, equipment change or process change that should not bring any risk into the system. So we govern it very closely. We also have a module for management of change. Mechanical integrity is about wear and tear of the equipment, right? So we have pressure vessels, we have vacuum systems, we have high speed rotating equipments. So there is a mechanism for us to really track it and see to it that their life is not over, and we strengthen them so that we don't have any failures or breakdown due to unforeseen situations. And then we have a lockout tagout program, which ensures that any work being done in the premises, the energy is isolated, whether it is electrical energy or steam or the chemical in the pipelines, whatever, high pressure systems, all are isolated and locked and tagged out. So these are the things, the risk control systems we have in place. And then we also have an environment council and health and resilience council, which happens every month, and environment council is led by the environmental lead, and health and resilience council is led by the safety lead along with the medical professional, right? And then we have wastewater project support across all the EADP businesses. We do the waste treatment and we manage it, we govern it, we see that the influent parameters, the in-process parameters and the effluent parameters are meeting the norms stipulated by the Pollution Control Board. So this program is not just for a year, right? We keep on improvising this program, but broadly always the 4 pillars remains as a kind of a fixed one, and we keep enhancing it year on year. So this will help, these programs when we follow meticulously will help to push the TRIFR target to less than 0.1. Our aim is to bring this less than 0.1 in 5 years time. So we started our journey in 22-23. So by around 28-29 we will be able to be less than 0.1. And the entire program whichever I'm talking about is governed by Factory Safety Committee on a monthly basis. The lead and lag indicators, I'll be talking about it in a moment in the coming slides. So those things are reviewed on a monthly basis by the Factory Safety Committee. And the Central EHS Steering Committee is something which we do at a corporate level. We engage all the units and we do the review. We also do if there are any new projects, those project safety also is reviewed in the Central EHS Steering Committee. We also have a BHGMC where we have the senior leadership, the management team over there, and we share the performance of EHS to the entire management team over there. And then on a quarterly basis we provide the update to the board members. So the safety pyramid which we have here, it is we have the standard safety pyramid or the safety triangle which is on the left corner. So generally what it says is, right, if you are having around 300 recordable injuries, there is a possibility of 30 lost workday cases and there is a chance of fatality. So that's the broad triangle with the blue color, the dark blue one. But how do we minimize that is possible by the bottom one. Capturing more near misses and trying to not trying, it's actually doing the investigation and fixing the issues. And then tracking at-risk behaviors and at-risk conditions and correcting the behaviors and correcting the unsafe conditions. This will ensure minimizing the top numbers, right? So we see how we are fitting into it. We did it for 21-22, 22-23, and we are continuing to track for 23-24. So we are improving in terms of capturing those incidents, and you can see that there is an increase in numbers. That as the awareness increases, the classification, the way to classify incident also, the clarity comes to people. So that's the reason why the numbers are on an increasing trend. But definitely the focus is to bring this down, and we want to move towards zero lost time injury. And this is the balanced scorecard we have, right? We talked about what are the lead indicators and lag indicators. Lag indicators is pretty much not in our control, right? Yes, I mean, when we do so much of millions of activities in all our factories, there are certain near misses which cannot be avoided, right? When you are lifting a bag, some bags can slip. When you are handling a tool, it can slip. All those things are captured as near miss, and we see to it how those near misses are captured and investigated and corrective actions are put in place. We also capture the first aid injuries, right? When you do some work, there are some minor scratches or bruises that happens. Those things are considered as first aid. Medical treatment cases are those, if there is even a single stitch, it comes under the medical treatment case. Lost time injury is something where if a person doesn't report to duty within 48 hours, it's a lost time injury. And any fatality is a major adverse event, or any fire is a major adverse event that results in business disruption. And eventually, right, if there is a lost time injury, we report to the factory inspector, and there may be a government notice. So we always, if you look at the parameters that we have set as a target for us, right, we want people to report near misses. That's why we have set a target of 2 per employee per year. And we wanted the first aid injury reduction year on year, around 25% reduction is what we are trying to do. Ideally 0 is a good number, but practically 0 cannot be achieved statistically if you are not achieved in the past. So we have set 0 major adverse event as 0, and government notices we don't want to have. That's why we set the target as 0. And notable incident per site, we keep it as less than 5 per year. But the top ones are pretty much not in our control, right? I would say that the lag indicators, but the lead indicators are in our control. We can do coaching. So we are saying that each employee should be coached 24, coaching should be given by each employee in a year, right? You have 12 months and each person can do 2 coaching in a month, which is very easy. And we expect that culture to happen, right? Today we are struggling for it, but we are moving towards improvement. Similarly, unsafe condition, each employee should find at least 2 unsafe condition and report it in the tool, and we need to track it for closure. And 1 department inspection per month is mandatory. Training, for each employee we are expecting to have 12 hours of training per year on safety. There are other trainings which are there, which is quality and production related trainings. This 12 hours is just centered around environment and safety. And we expect around 4 cases to be done in each factory per month, and 1 safety committee to be done in a month at each of the factories. Promotional events, we have 12 per year, right? We have 12 promotional events starting from January, road safety, February, slip trip fall, March, safety month, April, fire service month, May, we do something on heat stress, June, we do it on environment, July again on ergonomics, August, we do something on material handling, September again at fall protection, October, we do on something on chemical safety, November, we do something like transport safety, vehicle safety, because in the November month is what most of the plants are in peak and season starts, so on and so forth. December again it's a chemical safety month because of the Bhopal gas tragedy. So we keep shuffling this, but by and large every month we have 1 promotional event. And we also ensure that all machines, MSRA means machine safety risk assessment, PGA is physical guarding assessment. So we ensure that all machines have machine safety assessment done and have adequate guarding in place, and any critical gap should be closed less than 30 days. We expect lockout tagout. Energy isolation should be 100%, permit is 100% needed, and fire safety system should be up to date by 24/7, because these are 3 critical ones. If not controlled, it can lead to fatality. And this is how we are trying to drive maturity across the organization. Right, from the reactive, we are trying to move towards the proactive indices. Thank you so much, and I hope you got some glimpse about what we do on, say, EHS in our organization. If there is any questions or concerns, and if you have any clarifications that you might have, feel free to reach out to me or any of my department folks, and you can reach out to any of the regional heads or the safety managers in the plant. Thank you so much for your time.